Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Always.
All right. So today we're looking at something pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gamification
Mm-hmm.
and how it can actually help with sustainability,
Especially.
especially with
In there.
energy use,
Hmm.
how we can all use a little less power and stuff. And you guys sent in some fascinating research on this.
Yeah, it's a really interesting mix. We've got academic
Oh
studies,
yeah.
some real-world examples, even a bit about how our brains work, you know?
The psychology behind it all, right?
Exactly. So it'll be
Uh-huh.
fun to unpack all of that.
I know. I'm actually kind of excited to see how turning things into a game can make a difference with, you know, saving the planet, basically.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not just about making it fun, right? It's about using those game mechanics, the points and the rewards and stuff,
Yeah.
to actually change how we behave.
Oh, okay. So first, maybe we should define what gamification actually is.
Yeah, good point. Because it is one of those buzzwords you hear everywhere.
It is, yeah.
But basically, it's about taking things we love in games,
Like what?
like think levels, badges, even a little friendly competition,
Right?
and using those in everyday situations to motivate us.
Okay, I think I get it, but can you give me an example?
Sure, like those loyalty programs where you get stars for buying coffee, or fitness trackers that give you badges for hitting your step goal.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. So it's
Absolutely.
not like turning everything into a video game.
No, not at all.
It's more like
Oh, yeah.
using those ideas to make, boring stuff more engaging.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does this help with sustainability?
Well, that's where this Australian study comes in.
Yeah.
They looked at whether a gamified app could actually change people's energy-saving habits.
Okay, so they made an app
Mm-hmm.
and people could play it.
Yeah, but it wasn't just about playing for fun.
Right.
It was designed to encourage specific behaviors.
Like what?
So they focused on young adults living in rentals who couldn't make big changes to their homes.
Interesting. Why that group?
Well, because they often can't install solar panels or, upgrade appliances.
Right, right.
So it's a group where making a difference might seem harder.
Makes sense. So what did the app actually do?
Okay, so there were 3 main activities in the app,
Oh,
each focused on saving energy in a different way.
cool. Tell me more about those.
All right, so one was called Fully Loaded,
Fully loaded, huh?
which encouraged people to do full loads of laundry and use cold water.
Smart.
Then there was Temperature Defender,
Ooh, I like that.
where people could optimize their AC settings.
That's something we all need help with.
Right. And lastly, there was Power Raid,
Power Raid sounds intense.
where people got rewards for turning off lights and appliances.
So it's like they made saving energy into a game?
Yeah.
With those names and everything?
Exactly.
But how did it actually work, with points and stuff?
So for each of those energy-saving tasks they completed, users earned points.
Oh.
And then as they earned points, they could unlock badges and even trophies.
Like a real video game?
Yeah. Plus, the app showed them their energy use in real time,
Oh, that's cool.
so they could see the impact of their actions.
So it wasn't just blindly earning points. They could actually see the connection.
That's right. And that feedback loop is really important, psychologically speaking.
Oh, how so?
Well, it taps into something called operant conditioning.
Operant conditioning.
Yeah, it's basically the idea that when we're rewarded for a behavior,
Mm-hmm.
we're more likely to do it again.
Makes sense.
So the app was kind of training people to associate saving energy with positive feelings.
Oh, I get it. You do something good, you get a reward, and your brain's like, hey, let's do that again.
Exactly. It's a bit like hacking our brain's reward system, you could say.
That's pretty neat.
Mm.
But did it actually work? Did people actually save energy?
Okay, so get this. Compared to a control group who didn't use the app.
The people who used the app showed a much bigger shift in their attitudes about saving energy.
So they were like, yeah, saving energy is cool.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But here's the really impressive part.
What's that?
They actually achieved an average of 12% savings on their energy bills.
Wow, 12%? That's a lot.
It is. And it shows that this approach can lead to real, tangible results.
So they saved energy and money. It's a win-win.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see why you were so excited about this research. So this study focused on, young adults in rentals. But do you think this could work for other people too? Like for everyone?
That's a great question. I mean, we can't assume that the same app would work for everyone the same way.
Right, right.
But the principles behind it, like
Yeah.
that operant conditioning we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
those have huge potential for changing behavior in all sorts of areas.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. It's like we all love getting points and leveling up, right? So
Hmm.
maybe we can use that to make the world a better place. Exactly. Though, of course, we need to be mindful of potential downsides, too.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Well, one concern is that the novelty might wear off. Like, what happens when the excitement fades?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I guess we also need to make sure people are focused on the real goal,
Right.
like actually saving energy and not just getting obsessed with winning the game.
You got it. There's always a balance to strike. But overall, I'm really optimistic about the potential here.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. So where do we go from here? Like, what else should we be thinking about?
Well, we've seen how this worked in one specific case,
Mm.
but there are so many other areas where we could apply these ideas.
Ooh, like what? Give me some examples.
Well, we're seeing gamification being used for things like encouraging
Oh,
recycling,
cool.
tracking carbon footprints.
Like a personal scorecard?
Yeah. And even teaching kids about sustainability in a fun way.
Okay, I see what you mean. The possibilities are kind of endless.
They really are. And I think that's what makes this whole topic so exciting.
It is. It is. So before we, totally lose ourselves in all the possibilities,
Yeah.
maybe we should take a step back and talk a bit more about the psychology behind all this.
Great idea. Let's dig deeper into how our brains actually work.
Right, because we keep mentioning operant conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it would be helpful to understand that in more detail.
Definitely. Understanding the science behind it all can help us use gamification even more effectively.
Right, exactly. So, we've got this excerpt from a book called Behavioral Modification, Techniques for Lasting Change.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it seems like a good place to start.
It really does. It lays out some of the fundamental principles.
Perfect. Let's dive in.
Okay, so this book talks about how we can use our understanding of how people learn to change their behavior
Intentionally.
on purpose.
Yeah.
Like not just hoping for the best, but actually designing for change.
So it's like hacking our own brains to create new habits.
Kind of, yeah. And they talk about two big concepts, classical conditioning and operant conditioning.
Okay, I've heard of those, but I'm not sure I totally get them.
Right. So classical conditioning is about learning by association. Think Pavlov's dog.
Oh, yeah. The bell and the drool, right?
Exactly. They learn to connect the bell with getting food. So eventually, just the sound of the bell made them salivate.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is. It's like how some people get excited when they hear their phone notification sound.
Oh, yeah, totally.
They've learned to associate it with something good, like a text message.
I do that all the time.
I
So
know.
how is operant conditioning different?
Operant conditioning is about learning through consequences. So rewards and punishments, basically.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you do something and it leads to a good outcome, you're more likely to do it again, and vice versa.
It's like training a pet, right?
Exactly. You reward them for good behavior
Mm-hmm.
and try to discourage the bad stuff.
Okay, I get it. So how does gamification use these ideas?
Well, think about it. Gamification offers those rewards like points and badges,
Right.
and that creates this positive reinforcement loop.
So it's encouraging us to keep doing the good stuff.
Exactly. Those virtual rewards are like hitting the pleasure centers of our brains.
So we're basically tricking ourselves into making better choices.
In a way, yes. But it's a good kind of trick, right?
Definitely. It's like we're using our knowledge of how our brains work to make the world a better place.
I love that way of putting it. It really highlights the potential here.
It's amazing. Okay, I think my brain needs a moment to process all of this.
Mine too. It really is amazing how much we can learn about ourselves and how to, make positive changes.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about that whole Pavlov's dogs thing.
It's a classic example for a reason. But what's even cooler is that the researchers in that Australian study were super careful about how they measured everything.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, they actually used data from the participants' real energy bills.
Wow. So it wasn't just like self-reported stuff.
Nope, they wanted hard evidence, and they went to great lengths to make sure those savings were really because of the app.
So how do they know for sure it wasn't just a coincidence?
They controlled for a bunch of factors.
Like what?
Things like how many people lived in each house,
Okay.
what kind of house it was, even how many appliances they had.
Right.
They even compared the data to the same time period from the year before.
Oh, smart. To
Oh,
account
I-
for any seasonal changes.
Exactly. So they created a really solid baseline to compare against.
Yeah, that makes their results even more convincing. And didn't they also have a control group? Like people who didn't use the app?
Yes, that was crucial. It allowed them to compare the two groups side by side
Okay.
and see the real impact of the app. It was like a real-world science experiment.
Love it. Okay, so their methodology was sound, which makes
Uh-huh.
me even more excited about this whole gamification thing. But I'm curious, are there other examples of gamification being used for sustainability, like beyond just energy saving?
Oh, absolutely. There are tons of cool initiatives out there.
Really? Like what?
While some communities are using gamification to encourage recycling and composting,
That's awesome.
there are carbon footprint trackers that reward you for making eco-friendly choices.
Ooh, I like that idea.
And even games that teach kids about sustainability in a fun and engaging way.
It's like we're playing our way to a greener planet.
Exactly. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
Okay, I'm officially on board with this gamification thing. But we did talk about some potential challenges, right? Like the novelty wearing off over time. How do we keep people from losing interest?
That's a really important question. And it's something that game designers think about all the time, even with traditional games.
So what's the secret?
Well, one key is to create a sense of progression and mastery.
What do you mean by that?
Think about those epic video games where you're constantly leveling up,
Right.
unlocking new abilities, facing tougher challenges. That keeps players hooked.
Yeah, I can see that. So we need to apply that same logic to sustainability.
Exactly. People need to feel like they're always working towards something,
Yeah.
always striving to achieve a new level of, well, eco-awesomeness.
I love that term, eco-awesomeness. So it's not just about earning a badge and then forgetting about it.
Nope, it's about continuous growth and learning.
Makes sense. And I guess we could also tap into our social nature, right? Like make it a team effort.
Absolutely. Humans are social creatures.
Sure.
We love to connect, and let's be honest, we love a little friendly competition.
So instead of just playing against ourselves,
Mhm.
we could create opportunities for people to team up, collaborate, maybe even compete with each other.
Exactly. Think about those fitness apps that let you share your progress with friends or join group challenges.
Yeah, I love those.
That sense of community and shared purpose can be super motivating.
It's like turning sustainability into a team sport.
I like the way you think. And you know what else can make a big difference?
Tell me.
Personalization.
Oh, interesting. How would that work?
By tailoring the experience to each individual's preferences, needs, and goals.
So recognizing that we're all motivated by different things.
Exactly. One person might be driven by competition, another by collaboration, or maybe by the impact they're making.
I get it. It's about making it personal.
Yeah.
So how do we actually do that?
Well, imagine an app that learns your habits, tracks your progress, and then suggests challenges and rewards that are just right for you.
That would be amazing, like having a virtual sustainability coach.
Right. And as the app gets to know you better, it can keep evolving,
Oh, wow.
providing new challenges and keeping you engaged.
My mind is blown. This is seriously cool stuff.
It really is, and it's only going to get more sophisticated as technology advances.
Okay, before we get too lost in the future of gamification,
Yeah.
let's circle back to the psychology for a bit. We talked about operant conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm wondering about those smaller, more subtle rewards you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah, those can be super effective too.
Can you give me an example? Sure, think about checking a box on your to-do list.
Oh, I love doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's such a small thing,
Yeah.
but it gives you a sense of accomplishment, you know? You're like, yes, I did that. Totally.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to keep going.
That's exactly the point. Gamification can take those little everyday actions and turn them into something more meaningful and fun.
So how can we use that for sustainability?
Well, imagine a system that tracks your daily commute and rewards you for choosing greener options like biking, walking, or taking the bus.
Oh, I like that.
And maybe it could even visualize your progress, like showing you all the green miles you've racked up.
That's awesome. It's like you're not just getting from point A to point B, you're making a difference.
Exactly. And maybe you could unlock badges for hitting certain milestones, like Bike Master or Public Transit Pro.
I love it. It's like you're leveling up your sustainability game.
Exactly. And that sense of progress and achievement can be really motivating.
It's inspiring, really. It makes me feel like we can actually tackle these big challenges.
I agree. It's all about finding creative ways to tap into human motivation and make positive change fun and rewarding.
This is all so exciting. It feels like we're on the verge of a real breakthrough in how we think about sustainability.
I think you're right. We're starting to see the power of gamification to transform the way we live and interact with the world around us.
Okay, one last question before we wrap up. We keep coming back to this idea of the novelty wearing off. How do we make sure these gamified systems stay engaging and effective over the long term?
That's the million-dollar question, and there's no easy answer. But I think a big part of it is making sure the experience is personalized and relevant to the user's goals.
So it can't just be a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. It needs to adapt to each person's needs and preferences. Remember that app we talked about that learns your habits and suggests personalized challenges?
Yeah, that was a cool idea.
That kind of personalized approach is key to keeping people engaged over time.
Makes sense. So it's like having a virtual sustainability coach that's always there to nudge you in the right direction.
Exactly. And as the technology gets better, those virtual coaches are only going to get smarter and more effective. And as those systems get smarter, I think it'll really open up a whole new level of possibilities for how we approach sustainability.
Yeah, it's exciting to think about. So I guess the big question is, how do we take all of this amazing potential and actually make it a reality?
Well, I think a big part of it is awareness.
Okay.
Like just spreading the word about what gamification is and how it can be used for good.
So more people need to know about this.
Exactly. The more people understand the power of these techniques, the more we can start applying them to all sorts of challenges.
I totally agree. It's like once you see the potential, it's hard to unsee it.
Right. And I think we also need more research.
Oh, yeah, that's always important.
We need to keep exploring different approaches, testing different ideas, and figuring out what works best in different situations.
Makes sense. Like
Well,
what works for one person might not work for another.
exactly. So we need to develop a whole toolbox of gamification strategies and learn how to apply them in a way that's tailored to each individual in each context.
That's a great point. So it's not just about creating a single perfect app.
No.
It's about understanding the underlying principles
Right.
and using those to design solutions that actually work.
Exactly. And I think we also need to be mindful of the ethical implications of gamification.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure, like we need to make sure we're not manipulating people or exploiting their vulnerabilities.
Right, that would be bad.
It's about empowering people to make positive changes, not tricking them into doing things they wouldn't otherwise do.
I see what you mean. So it's about using gamification for good.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool, but it's up to us to use it responsibly.
That's a really important reminder. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of gamification and sustainability, what's the one key message you want our listeners to take away?
I think the biggest takeaway is that this is a really exciting field with huge EE potential to make a positive impact on the world.
I completely agree. It's been fascinating to explore.
And we're just at the beginning. I can't wait to see what the future holds for gamification.
Me neither. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something new and maybe even feel inspired to apply some of these ideas in your own life.
And remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
Well said. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep playing for a better tomorrow.